Before we get started, I'd first like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Ngunnawal people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and also welcome any Indigenous people that we have here today. Welcome to Facts and BYO Snacks. We've got a pretty good turnout today, which I'm pretty excited about. Jez Hodgson is presenting on complaints management and ministerials. We had a lot of people come out to the original one we did face to face back in March. So and we got a lot of good feedback. So it should be another good session. So I'll if no one has any questions, I'll pass you on to Jez right now. Thanks, Jez.
Welcome to today's Facts and Snacks. My name's Jared Hodson, and most people in the directorate know me as Jez. So we'll be just going over the work of the complaints management team and so the work that we do and the not only the complaints management area, but also in the ministerial area as well. We've already done that. So today we'll be just just present. I'll just be presenting an overview of the work that the CMT does, how we manage our work, the types of things that come across our desks, and some stats that you might find interesting. You might not find interesting, but at any rate, that's going to be part of it. The CMT is responsible for a lot of data collection that directs the work that Access Canberra does. That's generally administered through our sister team, the data management team, or I've forgotten their proper name. Now, most of you, as I said, have come across me at some stage or another. My background is working in various ministerial areas across government. I've been a cabinet liaison, and I've been a DLO at various times in my career with the ACT government, with TCCS under a couple of our ministers, notably Minister Fitzharris and Minister Rattenbury back then. So let's move on. Complaints management. Some people might see complaints management as tedious or unrewarding. However, complaints management, it's far from that. Complaints management adds a great deal of value to any organisation, public organisations and private organisations. Most largish organisations or even small organisations create some kind of channel for feedback or complaints. Complaints management, and I'm talking generally, it's actually quite structured. Processes have been analysed. There are a lot of corporate entities that make their money just by showing how to manage complaints in an efficient way and to gain value to their organisation from those complaints. The CMT specifically, the Complaints Management Team of Access Canberra, we're made up of people whose priority ultimately is to help people. We investigate matters, we liaise with businesses, we liaise with customers, we liaise with the rest of ACT government and at times other jurisdictions. We do a lot of detective work. We seek answers, we request services, and we negotiate solutions. Work that comes through the CMT, it's a good measure of the pulse of Access Canberra. So where we're going as a directorate and how we might consider our future direction and the activities we do and the way we manage our activities. So Why do we have a complaints management team? The CMT was formed in July 2017. Prior to that, most of you will be aware that Access Canberra was made up of many discrete entities, each with their own customer-facing units and complaint management units or areas that looked after complaint management. So CMT has pulled all of that together um, to triage, investigate, direct direct complaints, resolve complaints, and record complaints. Um, Data capture, it's one of the most important functions of the team. It's used by the data analysis team to predict to predict trends, to allocate resources, and identify policy gaps or legislative amendments that might be required to assist the community and assist the work that Access Canberra does. So, complaints. Complaints are good. Complaints aren't something to be afraid of or run away from. The best organisations have quite a structured complaints management process. Complaints are, as I alluded to earlier, they're a good test of how your business is going and how the work that your business does might be able to be improved. And you can see those dot points there on the reasons why um, I and my team view complaints as actually a resource. So help people. They enable us to provide better service, fix things, and create efficiencies throughout the directorate. They're also good for our image and for our staff. It's a good channel for our staff to get feedback, and it also tells the public that our business is confident enough to face criticisms and address criticism, which is a really important value, corporate value. And ultimately identify trends so that we can do a bit of crystal ball gazing and have an idea of what's coming and what's coming in the future or what's on the horizon. We receive our complaints mostly via the CRM, so that's the feedback form that most people will know on the ACT government websites. However, we also take incoming calls, emails directly in. Occasionally, we take letters, like hard copy letters. We'll also do outgoing calls, and some of our complaints come in via the ministerial process as well and are managed rather than through the ministerial channels, but via the CMT team themselves. All of our complaints are managed through the CRM at the moment, and our documentation is managed through Objective, both business systems most people in this forum would be users of or at least aware of. Our case managers take personal responsibility for each individual complaint. So each complaint is allocated to a member of our team, and it's their responsibility to see it through from the get-go, to liaise with businesses, with clients, and with other areas of Access Canberra and government in order to attain a resolution. Our complaints, we will transfer directly to subject matter experts. That's you guys out in the directorates. We don't pretend to be an expert on any topic. However, we do direct any complex matters through to the subject matter experts. That's you guys out there for you to seek resolution to particular complaints. Or there are times when we'll just where we will directly transfer the complaint through to your business area or to other areas of government, of ACT government, occasionally the federal government and NGOs and corporates at times, but that doesn't often happen. All right. So So these are the stats up until the end of May this year. So nearly a whole financial year. So close to 11,000 incidents have been managed through the CMT. As you can see, a great deal of them are related to parking and EPA, mostly noise complaints at the moment. We've had a little spike on smoke complaints, it being winter and people working from home and that sort of thing. Also, our next busiest line of channel is ACL, Australian Consumer Law, seeking resolutions to consumer complaints. That occupies a great deal of our time because a lot of detective work and toing and froing needs to happen in order to what we call conciliate a complaint. So, i.e., get develop a solution for a consumer. Next along the line, things that you'd probably predict, the usual things, building and planning complaints that Canberra deals with, vehicle defects, the occasional taxi complaint, 382 customer service complaints. That's across government. That doesn't directly relate to service that Access Canberra or customer facing areas of Access Canberra have got. However, don't get me wrong, some of them are about the service that customer Canberra, the service that Access Canberra has provided people. Usually, most of the time on investigation, it's where a customer's perception has been that they have not received an entitlement or a resolution from the ACT government to their satisfaction. It's a bit subjective. They might just be disappointed in the truth, and that is that we could only help them to a certain point. And 190 far this year, nice round number on agents. So that's like sales agents and or all of the licensed agents that Access Canberra manages. Here's a nice pie chart giving a visual of the work that Access Canberra pretty much does, and the CMT is and has gone through the CMT. And as you can see, the vast majority of that parking environment, 13% of the work that Access Canberra does gets booted to the other directorates. Access Canberra being the main point of entry for customers into the ACT government, you expect a lot of of the business that comes through us to be directed to other areas of government. Generally, overall incident numbers are steady, as you can see from this. Month by month, CMT managers generally in the order of 900 to 1,000 complaints on average. Later this year, rather earlier this year, March, April, May, June, you'll see the spike in COVID complaints. So you'll see that the makeup of our complaints, the numbers didn't really change, but the type of inquiries that were coming through Access Canberra, the topic changed and the focus became COVID related, especially in April. Generally, those complaints were mostly about compliance or people's perceptions of COVID compliance. It's curious to note that it's almost a 50-50 breakup. Those of COVID complaints, it's almost a 50-50 breakup of complaints against businesses and traders and complaints about individuals. So yeah, that's interesting, and it's good to note as well. So the majority of COVID matters 81% of them were unrelated to Access Canberra's regulatory responsibilities, and these got referred to other directorates. Generally, they were referred to either ACT Health, HPS, Health Protection Service, or the AFP, depending on what the complaint was. Those topics were usually just, things like not observing social distances, people using inappropriate public spaces, people not observing stay-at-home rules, and businesses that didn't have processes for social distancing. Most of that has pretty much changed now that it's August, and processes like that have been bedded down. Recently, we've seen fewer complaints about individuals. However, we've seen a steady number of reports on businesses and licensed premises, restaurants, cafes, failing to implement COVID restrictions. Um, yeah, so let's just move on. That's just a snapshot of the work that CMT's done from a statistical level. So our case managers, they work to resolve the complaints raised by customers, governments, individuals, and businesses. They come across our desk. We attempt to negotiate solutions. Sometimes it's not always good news for our customers. So our team have a fair level of resilience and tenacity. Often the team has difficulties in dealing with both traders and consumers, so a fair bit of diplomacy and manoeuvring is involved in order to strike a balance between the needs of the customers that we have and the needs of businesses and the traders that we deal with. Ultimately, our aim is to close the loop with the complainant, so keep them informed as often as we can with with the status of their complaint, and ultimately find some kind of resolution for them. A lot of our work, or not a lot of our work, but some of our work involves follow-up correspondence where a constituent is asked what is happening, or this is still happening at a future point. And again, we'll add that to the original incident or the original case and follow that up as well. Okay, so the second, here's an image of some of the work that we do. Some of our um, um, some of the typical complaints that we receive: dirty blocks, crap parking from throughout the city that a lot of us will be witnesses of, and some inappropriate consumer products getting sold. Just some of the typical things that come across the desks of our team. The second role that the CMT has is in managing ministerials. So ministerials, um, I'll just move on to the next slide. Um, Ministerials come from we've got three ministers at the moment, Mr. Ramsey, Mr. Gentleman, Mr. Rattenbury. All of our ministers for Access Canberra's portfolio responsibilities. The majority of our ministerials come via Mr. Ramsey's office, with Australian consumer law and EPA matters coming from Minister Gentleman's office and Minister Rattenbury's office. One moment, please. Access Canberra in 2019, we received 475, a nice round number of ministerials. this year you would have thought we'd be busier, but we're pretty much on track to meet that same number or thereabouts. In June, there was a doubling of ministerials, mostly in relation to the changes that Access Canberra has had to implement in relation to the services we provide because of COVID, so where we've had to modify our service delivery. Other work that we do that comes from the Minister's office, which makes up a greater number of work that comes from the Minister's office. Some of you will be aware of. They're things like directorate responses and callbacks, where a client has called the Minister's office and the Minister has directed us to call back the constituent. Also, queries from the Minister's office where the Minister's people have asked whether Access Canberra manages a particular piece of work, because often that's quite grey. And there are often requests for information or dot points to provide to other ministers at the Assembly so that they or their teams can respond to a client themselves. We also manage arrangements briefs and things like correspondence from that was sent to the minister's offices from corporate entities, business associations, or other jurisdictions, the federal government or other states and territories, or their statutory authorities, so that we can pass that on to the Access Canberra executive for their information. And you'll see most of the topics of our ministerials are pretty similar in numbers to the usual work that CMT does. Um, Parking disputes, building construction, dirty blocks, lots of environment complaints, and rego and licensing complaints, and occasionally customer service complaints. But we don't often get that many customer service complaints, which which is a feather in our cap, so to speak. Um, so what is a ministerial? Ministerial is really just correspondence to a minister. That's usually in the form of an email these days. However, we still get hard copy letters. We also get ministerials where a minister has been approached in person, say on the street or while door knocking, and the minister has taken down the constituent's details and the constituent's complaint, and he's directed Access Canberra to write back to that constituent on that particular matter. Ministerials are from all types of people. Most of you in the directorate that deal with ministerials know that about a third of our ministerials come from other MLAs in the Assembly. Some of them are more frequent than others. Um, about 2/3 of them come from our constituents of the ACT. So we manage our ministerials again through Objective. The ministerial team, which is just myself and one other, Gab, we will load ministerials into Objective. We'll create templates for you, and we'll try to help you out with the drafting process. Where possible, we will try to draft as much of that ministerial content as we can. Then the ministerials will go out to the line areas. You'll do your magic, and then they'll go up the line through the clearance process, eventually hit the minister's office. There will be some more tinkering, generally from the advisors and the chief of staff, before they even hit the minister's desk for signing. Every now and again, the minister will ask for further amendments before they sign them, and then the ministerials are emailed or posted out. Then usually what happens, the Minister's office will send them out to the constituent, and 99% of the time, the constituents are happy with the result. Of course, there are problems that Access Canberra deal with that we won't ever resolve to the satisfaction of our clients. However, we will always be there to listen to them and try to help them out as best as we can. So that's pretty much the end of the presentation. Um, if you have any questions in relation to the work that CMT does, or if you need guidance or you're lost for words in drafting a response to any constituent complaint or a ministerial, we can certainly help you with that. Linda Muscat is the Senior Director of the team at the moment, and most of you know Deanna and myself on a personal level, so feel free to contact us directly. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Jez. Does anyone have any questions?
Uh, Hi, everyone.
G'day.
And thanks from my side, from both of you, Gerard and Jared. Thank you for facilitating this wonderful session. I just recently moved from another directorate, and it was a great opportunity for me to understand the way you guys manage the complaint. I was just thinking, I just have one question, that when we capturing the incidents, do we differentiate the complaints from a query or inquiry? Because yeah,
Yes, there is categorization of what the complaint is about, and whether it's a complaint, just a query, or a request for information or a request for service. So indeed, yes, we do. That information is quite valuable to Access Canberra.
okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Jez. Like I said before, it's a great turnout today. It's great to see you all here. Just a reminder that we do these sessions once every 2 weeks or so. So love to see you all back again. If you have any ideas for potential topics, or if you want to present a topic yourself, just get in contact with me on the email on your screen at the moment. That would be awesome. But otherwise, I'll see you all next time. Thanks, guys.